All right, so what does standard form look like? We are used to seeing y equals mx plus b. Instead, the form we're going to see today looks like this. It looks like ax plus by equals c. And just like slope-intercept form, it's all variables, okay? This is a literal equation. Ooh, it's all connecting from unit 1. The difference here is that we have a, b, and c. We don't have an m and a b. Well, we do have a b, but we don't have an m in this situation. In this equation, a, b, and c will all be filled in with numbers. So you might have a 2 in a's place or a -7 in c's place. X and y will still just be x and y in our equation. Okay? And the big benefit to standard form is that it makes it easy for us to find intercepts. Now, we're not necessarily going to do that today, but just so you guys have a glimpse into the future here. All right, so we are going to run through some examples with standard form. Now, let's imagine that I give you these two equations and I say graph them. With what we have right now, we don't know how to graph it. In order to graph, we've been looking at equations that look like this. Y equals mx plus b. And we know when we're given that form, hey, we begin with b, we plot our point at the y-intercept, and then we use m, our slope, to guide us to the next point. Well, here in numbers 1 and number 2, we don't have it in that form, so I can't use that same method. So in order to be able to graph, our goal is going to be to convert this to y equals mx plus b. So in your margin, our goal today is to change these equations to y equals mx plus b. And the way we're going to go about doing that is essentially solving for y. Oh, I should just write solve. Okay, so I want you to think about it like we're solving for y. You have to get y all by itself. If you go back to our y equals mx plus b, y is on the left-hand side all alone. Okay, and that's what we want. And in order to do that, we are going to follow SAD maps. So just like solving any other equation, we do PEMDAS backwards. All right, now I'm going to go through these examples, maybe ask some questions here or there, and then I'm going to have you guys help me out a little bit more on the next ones. But you're going to need to pay attention to these ones so you know how to do the next ones, all right? So if I move too fast or you have a question, don't be shy. Let me know. All right, for number 1, we're, again, using SADMAP. I'm just writing it down so I remember. And our goal is to get y all by itself. So we're going to ask ourselves, is anything being added or subtracted to y? What do you guys think? Is anything being added or subtracted to y? Yeah, Trevin, 2x right now is being added to y. So in order to get rid of that, I'm going to subtract 2x. And I'm going to do it on both sides because remember, equations are all about balance. So now I can cross off this 2x. I have my y on the left-hand side. And now here's where it gets a little bit weird. Go back to our slope-intercept form. In slope-intercept form, the term with the x is always first. So in our example, we know that 3 and 2x are not like terms, and our brain really wants to go, oh, okay, well, I just write them right next to each other like this. And technically, that's not wrong. But it's not going to help us graph as much as if we made it look like y equals mx plus b. So what I want you to do instead, and I want you to write this big, star it, highlight it, we're going to put the x first. So instead of writing 3 minus 2x, I'm going to write negative 2x plus 3. And I have a plus there because the 3 was positive. Now that's a little bit weird. What questions do we have about that step? That's probably one of the more confusing things. None from you? All right, cool. Remember, if you have questions, I'm sure somebody else does, so don't be afraid to ask them. None? Awesome. Okay, so now we go back. We isolated y. Y is all by itself. It looks like y equals mx plus b, so we're done. We have converted it to slope-intercept form. So from here, we would be able to pick out our slope and our y-intercept and graph it. So can you guys help me? What's our slope and y-intercept here? Thank you. Hannah says our slope is -2/1. And yeah, Naomi says our y-intercept is +3. Good. And I love that you made this into a fraction, Hannah. So remember from our last, I don't know if I think it was 2 lessons ago, we said that when we're graphing, we want slope to be a fraction. If it's not a fraction, we just throw a 1 under it. Awesome. So I'm going to go to number 2, which is a little bit trickier. If you're working ahead of me a little bit, you're noticing that this one's a little bit weirder, right? So we're still going to follow the same process. I'm still going to do SADMAP, which means I'm asking myself if anything is being added or subtracted to y. Remember, our goal is to get y by itself. Right now, 4x is being added, so we're going to subtract 4x. And that means I can cross these out because they're inverses. And on the left-hand side, I'll have a 5y. On the right-hand side, do I write x or -30 first? Which one do I write first? Yeah, Mara, thank you. I'm going to write -4x and then write -30. Our big thing down here, we said put the x first. Right? Now, this is where we stopped in the other problem. But we have one more step because y isn't all by itself yet. We still have this 5 right here. And that's an issue for us. I want the 5 there. So yeah, Amara's got it. Here, I'm going to divide by 5. And when we divide, we have to divide every single term. I repeat, when you divide by 5, you need to divide every single term by 5. So that allows me to cross this off. Then I have y equals, okay, here's kind of the weird thing again. 5 does not go into 4. If you type that into your calculator, you're going to get a gross decimal. So instead of giving me a decimal, because we don't like decimals in this unit, remember, what we're going to do is we're just going to leave it as a fraction. I'm just going to leave it as -4/5. And then the x stays. And 30, we can divide by 5 if you type that in or you're quick with your mental math. It's -6. All right, so from here, we'd be able to pick out our slope and our y-intercept and graph it. All right, I get a good, bad, thumbs up, thumbs down. Tell me how you're feeling. You are going to have to do this in a moment, so make sure if you have questions. Oh, wonderful. Good, good. Oh, I'd love to see everybody respond in the chat. I only got a couple. Cool, another great. All right. So, oh, that's weird. Okay, if you're still feeling okay, we're going to go through a couple more examples. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the examples because I think by that time you guys would just hate hearing my voice. I am going to pick and choose, and then I'm going to have you guys try it by yourself. Before I start picking and choosing here, I want to write 2 more things in my margin. The first thing I want to write is that fractions are okay. Okay. If you come across a slope that won't simplify, you just leave it as a fraction. I do not want a decimal. That will not help you. Okay. So fractions are good. They're our friends here. The other thing I want to remind you of is to look for invisible ones. Oh, it doesn't want me to put dots over my eyes. All right, so what that means, if you have a variable with no coefficient, no number in front, there is an invisible 1 there. So just be on the lookout for those, all right? Let's do number 5. Again, I'm not going to do all of these. Do I have a volunteer that I'm going to turn off the chat for a moment. I have a volunteer that wants to turn on their mic and talk me through one of these. I would love to hear one of you try and explain it. Or at least get it started for me.
Sure, why not?
Cool.
All right, so we're doing number 5, right? Yep, okay.
Uh-oh.
It paused for a moment.
Oh, sorry.
First
Computer
thing-
lag issues.
Yeah.
Number 5, how would you start it, Amara?
First thing, you would minus the 4x on each side.
Good. Then what?
And then you would rewrite the problem, so it would be negative y equals negative 4x plus 0.
Oh, I love that you put the X before the 0. Now, are you feeling confident in the next step, or do you want me to talk you through it?
No, I got it.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to divide by negative 1 on each side.
Yay, good job. You found the tricky step. So what would our final answer be here then?
Our final answer would be y equals positive 4x, and then wouldn't it just be plus 0? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Amara. You can turn off your mic. You killed it. So for those of you, hopefully most of you got to this point. If you didn't, go back to our previous examples, make sure you look those over and ask questions. Then at this point, we were so close to having y by itself, but there was still a negative. Remember to carry your signs all the way through. That y stays negative until we do something about it. And this is where one of those invisible ones come into play. So to get rid of that negative, we knew that there was an invisible little 1 here. So Amara divided every single term by negative 1. And then there are a couple correct ways you could write this. 0 divided by anything is just 0. And we could leave it just like this. We could also, another correct answer, you could just put y equals 4x. Both of those would be correct. Same thing. All right. Let's skip down to number 8. I'm going to skip down to number 8. Let's try to hear from JJ. Do you want to try this one out? Turn on that mic and talk me through at least the first step here. Tell me what you would do. Hello? All right, Ileana, can you help me out? Turn on the mic, walk me through what I'm gonna do. Holy baloney, what is going on? Jasmine, will you help me out? I know you're there.
Okay, quiet, because I'm back. All right, so, shut up. So,
Yeah. I'm back to help you, that's okay.
I'm not really good at these. That's why I need the tutoring thing.
Okay, so look back at this at number 5 here. I want you to look back at that first step we did. Okay.
Shut up. Oh, so you'll just subtract. Wait, we're doing 8, right? Because I can't. Let's subtract like 5y or 15, negative 15.
Okay, now remember we're trying to get y by itself, so we're not going to deal with the y's first. Look what I moved first in that number 5.
Shut up, back up with your breast stinky.
You see what I moved first in number 5?
You moved the x first.
Yeah, so what am I going to do for number 8?
You can do negative minus x on both sides.
Yay, good job. There you go. Now we can cross this off.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll have just 5y on this side. Now, what am I going to write first? Think back to those notes that we did before. Do I write the x or the 15 first?
The x.
Good. Awesome. Now, am I done yet?
And what'd you say?
Am I done yet?
No.
No. What's my last step here? You're so close.
Oh. You gotta solve for y. I don't know.
You're right. We're trying to get y by itself right now. There's y. So what do we have to get rid of? That's by the y still.
The 5.
Yeah, and how would I do that?
Divide 5 on both sides.
Killing it. All right, you can turn off your mic. I'll stop torturing you.
Thank you.
All right, so we can cross off our 5s. And then I have a y on this side. Now, here's where it gets a little funky again. I have negative x divided by 5. Any ideas what I would write as the slope there? Good guess. Not quite. There we go. So, yes, Hannah said negative 1/5. Absolutely. If we go back over here in our margin, I reminded you guys to look for your invisible ones. So, in front of that x, there is an invisible 1. And we know that 5 doesn't go into 1. If you do negative 1 divided by 5, you're going to get a really gross decimal. So, instead of typing a decimal, we're just going to leave it a fraction. Negative 1/5 x. And then 15 divided by 5 gives me 3. Boom. Now the whole, so I'll give everybody 10 seconds. Make sure you got this written down, or you ask questions if you have any. Oh, I didn't even see, Kevin, you gave the y-intercept. Thank you. All right. Now the whole point of this is so that we can graph. So all we've done is change this to slope-intercept form. On a test, you'll be asked to do that. You'll also be asked to graph the line at the end. So now that I have my slope-intercept form, I'm going to write my answer from the previous question here. Now we want to graph this. That's our whole point. And this is what we've worked on for the last week. So we should feel pretty comfy, cozy about this, hopefully. Let's hear connection issues. That's okay. Nevaeh, let's try and hear from you. What would my slope and my y-intercept be here? Look at our equation. We want to graph it, so we need those 2 values. It's probably easiest if you just turn on your mic. Well, try it. Hey, I can hear you. Now I can't. Oh my goodness, people. All right. Jasmine, do you want to help us? You turn on your mic. I didn't know if that's what you meant to do.
Oh, sure. So you just asked to find M and B, something like that?
Yeah.
So wouldn't M be negative 1/5?
Yeah.
And B is 3?
Close.
No. What?
Not 3. You're so close. What is it?
Why? Negative 3.
No.
Negative 3. Negative.
There you go. You forgot the negative. Good job. All right. You can turn off your mic. So here we go. I'd put a dot at negative 3, and then my slope tells me my rise and run. So I'd go down 1, over 5. Remember, you always go to the right. And I'd put a dot there. Right? At the very end, we're going to connect our dots and draw our line. Hey, that's a pretty good line for Miss Carr. Any questions, concerns, quandaries? Now's the time.
Can you stick out after this me? Because I don't know how to do that tutoring, so that's my question.
Yeah, I can do that. All right, so we are running short on time, so I just want you guys to choose one of these. Don't do 2. Just choose one and try. I am going to call on somebody, so be ready with your answers. You got about a minute here. You're choosing one, and you are rewriting it in slope-intercept form, just like we did in our other examples. Choose anyone. Here, change the directions. Choose one.